All right. Welcome to my desk. So these pieces are ruined along with today's video and project. Let me explain what happened. Now, along with making daily videos, I've actually been experimenting with a way to get Epoxy Sculpt to cure in the space of just a couple of hours, and this is the result of a failed experiment. Now, I'll explain basically what I've been doing. If you heat the Epoxy Sculpt up to the point where it starts to get very, very malleable, it starts to cure a lot faster than usual. Because it is basically just a chemical reaction, and if you add heat to a chemical reaction, you can often speed up the process. So my logic was, if you just heat the Epoxy Sculpt up to a much higher temperature than the average room temperature, it'll cure in a much smaller amount of time. And that's actually been going really well. When I made my Penrose Cube yesterday, I actually built that entire puzzle in just the space of 6 hours. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to test the limits of actually heating the pieces up and seeing how I could get them to cure a lot faster. So I put these pieces in the oven at 70 degrees C, which is well below the melting point of ABS, and it was totally fine, and I was expecting everything to be just cool. However, somebody had been using the oven previously, and it was set to well over 200 degrees, and it hadn't cooled down in time. So I placed all of these pieces in the oven at a much higher temperature than the melting point of the ABS plastic. So as you can see here, all of these pieces are deformed, and some of them are, oh, that one's kind of wobbly, and this one's even split. Look, you can see here, it's all split open. So this project is a complete failure. My plan for today was to make a Penrose Cube similar to the one that I made yesterday, but I was going to do it with just 2 colors rather than 3, and I was going to try and bridge 3 faces together. And it was going really well. However, it's unfortunate to see that all these pieces became distorted. But I'm glad that I experimented with this idea anyway, and I can see here that the Epoxy Sculpt has actually already hardened, so it's clearly worked very well. However, it was too hot for the plastic to handle, so clearly I have to bake these pieces at a much lower temperature. So I'm going to have to do a little more experimentation to see if this works. I wasn't actually planning on talking about this for a while because I really wanted to solidify how everything works. However, a failed experiment is a failed experiment, and I figured that I'd talk about it. But enough of that. I have to figure out a project that I'm going to make today that I can put out tonight so that I can continue with this video series. So I'm thinking a bandage modification, although I'm not entirely certain as to what I can come up with in the space of a couple of hours. I get the feeling that it's going to be a no epoxy modification, so I'm going to be using the bicarb soda method, but we'll see what I can come up with.
2 hours later.
For today's puzzle, because I was kind of forced into making a bandage modification, I figured that I would rather explore a misnomer in bandage modifications rather than just make a puzzle because I had to make a video. So today I wanted to talk about the encased corner. Now, I get a lot of suggestions from a lot of different people about this particular kind of mod, and they all say that it's definitely something I should try, and I just dislike it. The reason that I do is because the corner is encased by 3 pieces on all 3 axes, and you can't separate it from within these pieces. It's completely encased, and it operates identically to a fuse cube, as you can see here. 3 axes are bandaged on one half of the puzzle, and so only the other half actually works. Now, I'll be completely honest, even though I don't like the idea of encasing a corner because you can't separate it from its bandaged pieces, I would actually recommend that you make this puzzle instead of a fuse cube because it uses less materials and it looks a lot cooler. But these kinds of modifications pop up all the time, and I actually see some of them get made without people actually knowing that those pieces can't even be separated. So encasing a corner like this, or making an even larger piece that would encase the corner like this, just doesn't work. But anyways, that's not to say that I don't like getting suggestions from people. I absolutely love getting suggestions. The only thing is that sometimes I see a load of suggestions on the same kind of puzzle that just doesn't work. And I guess it kind of bothers me because I kind of know it does, but some other people don't. Or maybe the other way around. Sometimes I think things will work, but a lot of people realize that they actually won't, and then I make the mistake of building it and then realizing that it doesn't work. But that's all part of learning, so I hope we all learned something here today. You can't make an encased corner within a bunch of pieces because it won't turn. And also, you should never put pieces in the oven after someone else has used it. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
Fucking hell.